Hello and welcome to the CDO Magazine interview series. I'm Dr. K.L. Allen, Chancellor of WGU Ohio, and we're partnering with CDO Magazine, MIT, CDO IQ, and the International Society of Chief Data Officers in a series of interviews. Today, I have the absolute pleasure of talking with Dr. Ryan Whisler, Program Chair, IT at Western Governors University. How are you doing today, Dr. Whisler?
Doing great, Kale. Thanks for having me.
Hey, man, it's awesome to be able to chat with you today. And I kind of get on the hypothetical aspect, so that way it kind of allows everyone to get to know Dr. Ryan Whistler more so. Now, if you suddenly won the Powerball, what would you do with your winnings? Now, we already know that you're going to look out for me. We know that, right? But what else would you do with your Powerball winnings?
Yeah, it's like you read my mind there. I was thinking like a cabin in the mountains on a lake would be step one, but honestly, what I what I would really want to do, because you can buy the toys, but at some point you're like, yeah, I've played with all the toys. But I think honestly, what I would love to be able to do is to be a part of helping people think through their ideas, getting them launched, maybe investing and helping fund some things, because I think there's so much opportunity out there, and we need to be open to the fact that we don't have to come up with every idea ourselves. We need to tie into those who have ideas. We need to support others. They'll support us as well. But I'd really love to be in that position where we're busy creating value, investing in each other, and that could be Powerball makes me think of money, obviously, but there's other ways to invest, intellectual property and ways to think through problems. But yeah, I think that would be awesome. I'd love to have that job of working with others to make things happen.
Hey, man, it sounds like you're a great person to actually win the Powerball as opposed to some other people. So that's good to hear. One of my next to last questions here is, knowing what you know now, what advice would you give your 25-year-old self?
Oh man, that's a great question. I think the key is, or what I would want to say is expose yourself to a lot of different, especially if you're in the tech space. I'll just keep it to that kind of an example. Expose yourself to a lot of technologies. Make sure that you're always open to learning, and that while you can be confident in what you know, you don't let that become like pigeonhole you. Like, I know this so much, I'm just going to be in this corner working on that for the rest of my life. Because the reality is that whatever that is probably going to go away in the tech world anyway. But it also keeps you from thinking bigger and being open to what else is out there. And so I just think, like, your question about who do you look to for inspiration and ideas and things also plays in there. Like, just keep asking questions. I read several books over time, and the titles weren't important, but what I walked away with was, like, they were about how to ask good questions. And really, I think that's a form of leadership and discovery that doesn't get its due, because we want to have answers. I don't know, maybe it's the American way. Like, I pulled myself up by my bootstraps. I had all the answers kind of thing, a little bit of ego and swagger there. But the reality is you learn a lot when you ask questions. And even when you maybe knew kind of what the answer might be, hearing somebody else say it gives you a new perspective or what have you. And so I would say I would throw in there, ask a lot of questions.
I'm glad you said that, because there was this old adage that, people used to say there's no such thing as dumb questions. And then as I began to get older, people were like, there are such things as dumb questions. I echo, ask as many questions as possible. And also, I mean, even if hearing it from someone else makes us better. And so before we wrap up, is there anything else, Dr. Whistler, that you want individuals to know about you, the IT space, anything that we did not cover? I want to give you the floor right now.
Yeah, I think that we covered a lot of ground, and a lot of the things that I would have hoped to talk about we covered. But I would say, just inspirationally, like, we're positioned in this time and day that IT has moved to that value creation front. I mentioned that as like one of my first answers is, IT is not a cost center. Doesn't need to be. Some organizations may kind of treat it that way, but don't let your organization or your team be treated that way. Instead, see yourself as value creators. And that's where IT is going to propel the world and make the difference in organizations in small and big ways, and bring together the tools, the thoughts, and the ideas that are going to shape where we go in the future. So I just think it's an exciting time to be in IT. It always kind of has been, but it's a young industry if you really look at it compared to a lot of other industries. So we still have miles to go and many opportunities in front of us.
So, Dr. Whisler, you open up another question there. It's a young industry.
Yeah.
So there's going to be individuals watching this interview that say, hey, I want to figure out how to get into the IT industry. What advice would you give them to break into the industry at this time?
Yeah, I think the key is just getting your foot in the door somewhere. So don't be like caught up on the idea that, man, I want to be this program, I want to have this title, or I want to be a programmer, or what have you. Get your foot in the door somewhere. People will notice and you will move up if you do a lot of the things we already talked about. Ask questions, learn, grow, keep options open. People will notice that and you'll move up. And so just get your foot in the door. I think from an educational perspective, I think certifications are a good way to open that door. Of course, coursework is a good way to open that door. Play with things. When I mentioned it earlier that I broke things and fixed them, I was physically breaking computers and fixing them. But nowadays, you can do so much virtually. So much learning is out there and can be done virtually. So maybe go into the cloud and AWS, make a free account and start building servers virtually. Just play with it. Those types of things can help you get a job, because employers want to know, give me an example of something you've done. So if you can say, I went into AWS or Microsoft Azure or Google, and I created a server environment that had 2 servers, and I tinkered with connecting those together and sharing data, anything you can share around that will help open that door. So those are just some different ways that come to my mind to kind of get that door open.
Sounds great. Sound advice. If anyone wants to learn more about where Ryan, works at, feel free to check him out at the website www.wgu.edu. I'm putting Ryan out here, but feel free also to find Dr. Ryan Whisler on LinkedIn if you have any questions as well. Ryan, I truly thank you today for joining me. Please visit cdomagazine.tech for additional interviews. And again, my name is Dr. K.L. Allen, Chancellor, WGU Ohio. Thank you.
Yep, thank you, K.L.